If you miss anything, don't worry about it. You'll get it later. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can always enter them in the question module at the right of your screen. We'll take most of the questions after the webinar concludes. If there's anything that we don't get to or we can't answer live, then we'll follow up with you after. For today's webinar, we're handing our controls over to our first national sponsor and one of our technology partners, Strava. If you're not familiar with Strava, they're a social network built for athletes, and we choose to work with them not only because they're a potential revenue generator for races, but because we also really believe that they have technology that can enhance the experience of races through community building. And we really love the potential that they have as promotion tools. So a lot of this webinar is about how you can use them to enhance your race and also to promote your race. Leading most of the conversation today will be Larissa Rivers, who leads the U.S. local marketing for Strava and focuses on partnerships with races and organic marketing. And Mike Wynn, who works in growth marketing with a focus on leading paid digital acquisition programs. Larissa and Mike, it's all you.
Thanks, Johanna. It's nice to have everyone join the webinar. This is Mike, and I'm joined with Larissa. Thanks for taking out the time out of your busy schedules to participate. So just a quick hello from Strava. This is what we look like. Probably won't see us. But yeah, as she mentioned, we both focus on marketing. Larissa is focused on U.S. local marketing, and I'm focused more on paid acquisition. So the presentation we have today isn't super deck heavy, because I think the best way kind of to explain how to do a lot of the things that we're going to talk about is just to show you guys. So a quick overview of like what we're going to go at, what we're going to talk about is just one, for those who aren't familiar, what are Strava clubs? How do they work? How do I set it up? And then what I think would be really useful for you guys is essentially, what are some cool examples of clubs in our ecosystem that have been leveraging it to really expand the user participation past race day? So we pulled out some examples of some clubs that are doing a great job in terms of using them to, one, work, engage with their communities, throughout the entire year, but also to build more awareness around their events. And then what we'll kind of swing after we talk about clubs, we'll kind of focus in on what exactly is the RunSignup and Strava partnership, and how can you best leverage our partnership to kind of grow your club and grow the members in your community. So I'll hand it off to Larissa to kind of start, talk about clubs and what they are.
Great. So as Johanna and Mike mentioned, I'm Larissa Rivers. I have been at Strava for a long time. The evolution of our clubs has been really fascinating to watch. As Mike mentioned, these are a great way for you to build community post your event. It is an evergreen club that exists on Strava, and what happens is if you have people join the club, they can participate in upcoming events that you might have, training runs, training tips that you might have via post, or it's a way for the community of people who've done these races to come together and to chat about the various experiences they've had with their racing. One of the great examples, and I'll kind of run through examples, and this is a blog page that you can have access to that goes through a lot of this stuff. But the London Marathon is a great example because it's a huge club, but it's a way for you to see how someone created a club around a race, but this community exists and lives forever on Strava. There's posts, so these are all different training tips that they've given throughout the race. There's a club leaderboard, which is less interesting for some of the people that might be joining the club, but it's also kind of a cool way to see how others are training, so they can dig into others who are training for the same race that they're doing via this leaderboard. And then this is also essentially like a filtered feed, so anyone who's doing this race, you can also see what their activities are, and maybe follow some people who are training for the race that live near you, connect with them to work out together, and the like. The other example, if you want to do something where you're going to create events leading up to a race, this is more of a club, this is a retail shop, but they've done a really great job with having upcoming club events on a regular basis. They use posts to encourage people to come to the events, and there's a way for you to RSVP. So 34 people RSVP'd. So it kind of gets rid of the Facebook group where there's a lot of noise, and keeps all of your members in one place that is a relevant social network. So everyone on Strava is running or riding or doing activities to be on the platform. And then the third example I wanted to show you is more Runner's World. They're more content heavy. Obviously, it's a magazine, but they've done a really great way of using posts to create engagement. And I'd say one of the things as a race director, the great thing about these clubs is that they are evergreen, and it creates this presence for the people who are doing your race to be informed all year round about the goings-on. So you'll have race sponsors, and it's a great way for the sponsors to also activate and engage with the people throughout the year. So you can have one of your sponsors create a post. You can talk about the different things that they might be giving away. You can make announcements about different sponsors who are joining the race. And so these are just a couple of the content pieces that Runner's World has done, but they post content pretty regularly, and the engagement is really high. You know, you have like close to 1,000 likes, and people are commenting based on the different posts they do. You can add photos. You can, it's almost like short blog posts, the amount of copy that you can add to these things. And so now that you see the different examples and ways to engage with the post, how do you set it up? I'd say it's relatively simple, but that's because I've worked here for 6 years, so it's intuitive to me. What I would do is use these tools to help walk yourself through. But the CTAs are very bold. It's like a big orange button. So if you go to the Strava website, you can only create a club on the website. That's one thing to note. At the top right-hand corner of the club search page, you'll see Create a Club. It's very basic. Enter all the metadata into the fields provided. You can make the club public, which I would recommend for most races. This way anyone can join. There is an invite-only private club. If you have training programs associated with your race, this is kind of a nice way to create private clubs that people have to pay into something. The person creating the club is the designated club owner. That can be changed after you create the club, but just know that when you're going in to create a club, that you'll need to make sure that the person who's creating the club is comfortable with having their profile as the club owner. The other ideas you can do with that is to create a separate account on Strava to be the club owner, so that you can have multiple people can have access to the club. Once you create the club, you can also attach other administrators to the club. So the club owner can post and make announcements. They can also, if it's a private club, they approve the members. But once you're an owner, you can actually designate others to be administrators on the club. So if you want 3 to 4 people, able to post and do different activities on the club, you can do that as well. And then you'll also want to make sure that you add a cover photo. We would likely verify any race that we'd be doing. So the verification process does allow you to have more of a fancy, broader border at the top. It also allows you to take the club leaderboard away if that seems too intimidating for some others. And it gives your post a bit more prominence in the feed. And then I think that's it in terms of how the club setup works. I'm just going to go scroll down here to the posts. Posts is a really great way for you to engage with the members of your community. They will get a notification in the feed, as well as an email, if they're opted into email, of posts and events that are created on the club. So this is an example. We have an internal Strava Run Club, but every week we have a weekly workout, and we post this on the club and get a notification every single time. You'll go over to the tab, look at our posts, and there'll be a button that says Create Post. This is also true of the app as well. If you go into the club, if you're an administrator, you can go in and create a post there as well. So the only time you have to go into the website technically is to create the club. You can manage all the rest of the club stuff in the app. And with that, I will turn it over to Mike to walk you through how RunSignup and Strava's partnership works.
Thanks, Laura. So now that everyone kind of has an idea of what clubs do, I kind of want to talk about the partnership that we have with RunSignup in terms of, one, how to grow your club, but also, 2, how can Strava help bring extra visibility to your club. One of the things that I forgot to mention is like the great thing about clubs in general is that whenever anyone engages in a club, as a friend of an athlete, like you will see that person, like their activity with that club. So there's like a huge K factor element that comes out when it's like as more and more people join your club, that more and more of their friends see that like there's a lot of traction behind club growth. So let me walk through what it looks like from your guys' end. If you go to your dashboard and you go into the sponsors link, you'll see that in the national sponsors tab, this is where we host most of the information for our partnership. So as Larissa kind of mentioned, once you've created your club, what you're able to do is essentially enter your club ID into this field. So what will happen is once you create the club, everyone will get essentially a unique URL. So in this case, I gave an example of like club/example 1111. If that was the case, then your club ID would be example 1111. In the case that your club doesn't exist, we'll route users to Strava.com if you still are in the national sponsorship program. But we highly encourage that you guys create a club and upload this ID because it kind of like consolidates that entire experience so that users are going to a property that's like associated with a specific race that they're on. One thing I wanted to talk about in case people weren't 100% familiar is that when you enable the national sponsorship, essentially what happens is there's a couple banners that appear on the RunSignup website. So this is the Alameda Running Festival that I'm actually going to run in August or September, I mean. And then what happens is when you enable the partnership, what you'll see is on the nav bar, there's going to be an extra tab that talks about training with Strava. And if you have a club ID associated, when you click on any of these buttons, users will get routed straight to your club to be prompted to join your club. And then also you'll see that there are some banner placements as well. So like really encourage club creation because it just really consolidates this experience. It helps you guys grow your profile and your footprint on the Strava network. So back to the dashboard. So once you have that set up, there's a couple extra assets for everyone to use. One of them is actually this featured running races page. So what we run at Strava is like this catered list of races that happen around the world. And this site essentially, we get organic traffic that lands on this site. So anyone that's opted into the sponsorship, we're more than happy to list your race upon this website. This website is an awesome place to just get additional organic eyeballs onto your race in general.
There's also on that anyone who runs your race, who's on Strava, who uploads and wasn't aware of the race community, they also get this email at the end that says like, hey, we noticed you ran this race, and they can go back to the website to see how they stacked up against everyone who ran the race on Strava and sort of relive that race experience.
Yeah, yep. And the process to do that is actually, the way we kind of do that is essentially what you'll provide is essentially the route of the race, and what we can do is map activities that are within that same time frame and associate those with that race. So there's a quick Google Doc to fill out to get approved, and then once you get approved, you'll get listed onto the website. And then we also have a Strava logo pack, so if there are assets that you want to create and want to leverage our logo pack, it's all downloadable here. The only thing that we ask is that you don't make any major edits to our logo and use them as is, but we want to be flexible and allow race directors to have the freedom to place the partnership assets where they desire. And then I think the biggest thing that I would actually talk about is when you've enabled this partnership, it's great in terms of, hey, we have areas to grow your club on RunSignup.com. I think the interesting thing about how to really grow your club is actually kind of speaking to the runners yourselves. So what we have here is provided a link where you can essentially place this link wherever you feel fit, and that link will automatically drive users to your club and also give you credit for all new registrations that you drive. So we've seen a lot of club directors do some really interesting stuff where integrating this link into the email welcome, the welcome email after you drive a lot of registration and a lot of club joins for specific races. We've also had different races, put a logo or an image on their website, and then they use this link to send people from their actual race website to their Strava club. So this registration URL is essentially like a mechanism that we want to give the community to have flexibility in terms of like putting the integration where even outside of RunSignup, but onto your own properties or your own messaging communications to how you see fit. So I think in general, that's a quick highlight of the Strava and RunSignup partnership. I think we are open to, we have time for questions, and I guess, Johanna, do you want to see if there are any questions on the line?
Yeah, I've got a couple here. Let's start with what we've got come through so far. One, I think this got answered during it, but in case anyone missed it, I already have a club page, and my organization hosts multiple races per year. How do we use Strava to spread the word about our race with Strava members that are not necessarily our club members? For example, can we add our races to the running races page? You went over where that was, if you just want to quickly.
Yeah, totally. So definitely on this featured running races page, you can definitely submit your races, and this will be a new place where Strava members can find out about your race as they're browsing on which races they want to participate next. Another thing is that also as you grow your club and as more people join interact with those races, those activities will show up on their friends' feeds. So it's kind of like this halo effect where the more engagement you get with those races on Strava, the more eyeballs will see those races. Whether or not they may or may not be directly connected with your club yet, but if they're connected with the friends that are in your club, they'll be able to see the activity that you're driving.
I think that answered some of this one as well, but if you have anything else to add, how does Strava promote the local races and businesses they're collecting participants from?
Yeah, totally. So this featured running races page actually shows up organically. So I think if you Google running races, I think this is one of the first couple of pages that shows up. And also, the way we kind of promote races inside the app is through our algorithmic feed. So, as users interact with your properties on the Strava.com website or app, that activity gets shared into everyone's network. So if I join the OC Half Marathon on Strava, and Larissa's my friend, she'll see that hey, Mike's joined this race. So it just continues to kind of get more and more eyeballs onto your races and events.
This one is sort of similar as well. Is this basically a social media app like Facebook? Give your differences and similarities.
I think our main difference is that at the core of it, Strava is a tracking app, so it's a great place to upload activities from running, riding, swimming, indoor. We've integrated with 300 plus devices. So at the core of it, I think people find the most utilization from the fact that they use us as a training app. And I think what people a common phrase that we say is that people come for the tracking but stay for the community. Was that it's always really lonely to run. It's lonely if you're just always running by yourself. And what we see is that when people start logging their activities and start following other athletes on the platform, they start to really be sold on this community aspect of really empowering each other on reaching each other's goals, and kind of this entire kudos system of you did a great run out there, you get props from the community, and it makes you inspired to continue to keep onto your athletic journey. So yes, in the sense that we are a social network, in the sense that there are profiles and people can add comments and kudos, but I'd say our main focus is just that really providing the tracking tools for users to improve over time and kind of measure their performance.
All right. Can you have one club for an event producer series attached to multiple events on different dates on RunSignup?
The way I would think about it is if you have multiple races, host them as separate races and link them all to one general club. So if you have a series of races, you might have like an overarching, club that hosts all of them.
Yeah, New York Roadrunners is probably a good example of that. New York Roadrunners has a club on Strava where they talk about each of their events. I think they have like 75 races a year. But then they each of their individual races exist as a race page on our platform. So everyone who's done New York Roadrunner races is in this community, and so they're all being talked to through the club about various events, but there's not just an individual club for each of the events. Probably an extreme example, but certainly the same case.
We have a couple questions about virtual races, how you would use it with a virtual race, if you would do a club or an event for that.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to take that one for virtual race.
There's a couple ways you could do a virtual race. I guess if you were going to, I would almost schedule a club for each of them, because then you could do a club for each event that you're doing. I think it would depend on how large the virtual race is. If it's like 1 or 2 a year, then I would do a separate club for each one. If the goal is to have virtual races throughout the year under one organization, then it might put you to do an event for each of those. And then I guess it would depend on how you were doing results in that, since we don't necessarily take results on Strava for those. But I think it depends on how many you're going to have under the one umbrella.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too is as this product is consistently developing, so if there's feedback on like how can we support virtual races in a specific way, it's definitely feedback that we'd love to get from the RunSignup community and then get into our product roadmap.
Take a couple more here. Does this apply to cycling-related activities?
Yeah,
Clubs?
Clubs are everything that we talked about here applies to actually cycling or even like swimming-based events. So it's, we focused on running just because we thought the audience was more of a running audience. But yeah, like if you have cycling events, it's the same process and kind of the same flow. And actually, one thing I forgot to talk about that totally blew my mind, skipped my mind when I was talking about this entire thing is like the thing that the really big reason why we wanted to partner with RunSignup is that we believe that we provide a tool that's really useful for both the athlete in your communities, but also for you to increase the discovery of your races. So one thing I forgot to talk about is that as you have these links, as you are a part of this sponsorship promotion, for every new user that you drive into Strava.com, whether or not they join your club or not, but if every new registration that you drive, we actually pay out $1.50 to each of those races. So there's not like a financial part of this entire partnership, but we hope that the real value comes from increasing user engagement and being able to engage with the community past race day and leveraging our tools to better work with your athletes year round.
The one thing I would note on that, though, is the featured running races that exist on Strava on the web, we do not have for cycling. The clubs can be used for all sports.
Okay. That actually answers one of the questions. Does Strava offer coached training plans or plan to do so?
We do. As part of our premium membership, you can sign up for training plans, 5K, 10K, half marathon, and marathon. You can also pick how many days a week you would want to train. For cycling, we work with Carmichael Training Systems for cycling and with Macmillan Systems or Macmillan Running for run training plans. For the cycling training plans, they're centered around segment goals. And similarly, they're somewhat picked based on your goal and how many days of riding you participate in. But it is a premium feature currently.
Can one club challenge another club?
Good question.
Good question. Not currently, but definitely on the product roadmap. Kind of these like club-based leaderboards and additional like competitive feature sets. So definitely something from the community that we've heard a lot of, and something on the roadmap, but we currently don't support it right now.
I think that covers most of these here. If we missed anything or if we need more follow-up, we have all these questions recorded as well, so we will follow up with you more if we need. Everyone should get an email later today with the recording and also some of these pathways to make sure you know how to find the form to get to your feature, to get listed as a feature grace and all of that. Thank you guys for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everyone.